Morning, tribe. I'm happy to be on here with you. D. Bonnie here, ER doctor turned marriage coach. Welcome to our little morning live session here with you. So listen, this is kind of fun and I want you to try it. Megan and I invented a tongue twister the other night, and then that led to a rabbit hole that might even impact your marriage. How fun is that? So here's the tongue twister. I want you guys to try this. Maniacal Megan had a magnifying monocle. Try that 5 or 10 times fast, and let's see what you end up with. I'm excited to hear from you if you can do it, if you can say it quickly over and over again. Maniacal Megan had a magnifying monocle. So let's talk about the Monopoly guy, right? You remember the little Monopoly guy? I forget what his name is. Somebody on here will know it. Comment, please. It's Moneybags or something, but the little Monopoly guy with the monocle, and he's on the Monopoly board. He's been there since whatever the 20s, whenever they invented Monopoly. And he would run around, and I guess he wreaks havoc. I don't know if he's the one that sends us to jail or what, but everybody knows the Monopoly guy. And so we got to searching because Megan was like, who had a monocle? Which cartoon character who had a monocle? And her first thought was Colonel Sanders did. And I didn't really think he did, but I was entertaining the idea that perhaps he did. But no, what he had was that cute little thin black bow tie and glasses with black frames. So he didn't have a monocle. So then we were thinking, I forget who else she mentioned. I was thinking of maybe one of the characters on Popeye. And then I said, oh, it's the Monopoly guy. And so we looked him up and found images where he has a monocle, but then we discovered this thing. You ready for this? I want to know, did the Monopoly guy have a monocle? Think about it. Did he have like the one lens over his eye as he was running around? I can picture it. I honestly can. He did not. He didn't ever have a monocle. I think that he's been drawn with a monocle because of this phenomenon that half, or maybe not quite half, but a lot of us remember the Monopoly guy with the monocle. Do you? I do, and I'm wrong. How terrible is that? So this took us down a rabbit hole. And so apparently this is called the Mandela effect. And it's the Mandela effect because a large percentage of people believe that Nelson Mandela died in the 80s. In fact, they even remember watching his funeral on television. How crazy is that? Do you remember that? Do you remember the big long procession on TV, all of the cars and the pomp and circumstance as we mourned the death of Nelson Mandela in the 80s? But it didn't happen. How crazy is that? So a couple theories on this. One is that there's an alternate universe, parallel universe, which is kind of fun to think about. And that like something has happened in time. And so, you know, he was going to die, but then he didn't. Or the Monopoly guy in this alternate universe had a monocle on his eye. And then in this current universe, if this is the real one, he doesn't. Anyway, what's more likely the explanation is that we are not accurate in how we remember things, even collectively. Even collectively, it's not like one or two of you are like, no, I'm going to look that up. The Monopoly guy had a monocle. Or Colonel Sanders, maybe you think Colonel Sanders had a monocle, or you remember, you're dead set that you actually watched Nelson Mandela's funeral in the 80s. So you look it up, and what happens? You are wrong. So what's that mean to us? Well, to me, I think when there's objective evidence like the Google that tells me that I'm wrong, I'm more willing to accept that, right? I mean, the Google in general is pretty smart. Don't look up your medical symptoms because you suddenly will have cancer. But short of that, Google is a wealth of information and knowledge, and we were able to confirm that the Monopoly guy did not have a monocle. And Nelson Mandela did not die in the 80s, and I do not remember his funeral on television like I thought I did. But what about other things? What about other things that we can't prove or disprove so easily? Is it possible that sometimes we're just wrong? Wrong in how we remember a situation that happened, or wrong in how we interpret someone's feelings, or wrong in how we think they should respond to us and they respond differently, so obviously they did the wrong thing. I think we have to stop and realize, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, we have to stop and realize that you and I are frequently wrong. And that's really hard for me to say. I hate being wrong. I love being right. I love getting 100% on tests. I love to wow people with some weird, random, trivial knowledge that I retained from, X number of years ago. Who knows why that's occupying real estate in my brain. I don't like to be wrong. And so, especially if you can't prove me wrong, now I'm really not even going to accept that I was wrong, because the way I remember what happened last week on Tuesday night when you upset me, that's the way it actually happened. But things like the Mandela effect remind me that I don't always get it right. Sometimes my memory fails me. Sometimes my perspective on a situation maybe doesn't reflect the whole story. And so what I'm going to ask you guys to do is come at these discussions with other people, especially your spouse, because let's face it, that's why we're on here. But come at these discussions with the idea of like, maybe I don't remember that correctly, or maybe you remember it differently than I do. And maybe it's your memory that's failing, but maybe you're not lying to me. Maybe that's literally how you remember our conversation unfolding. And you're not trying to manipulate me. You're not trying to get the upper hand. We just remember it differently. And I think that if we can understand that and embrace it and really internalize it, like really internalize the fact that sometimes you are wrong. The Monopoly guy did not have a monocle. Colonel Sanders did not wear a monocle. And Nelson Mandela did not die in the 80s. When's the last time you were the victim of the Mandela effect? When you were convinced with all your might in the conversation with your spouse that you were right? And can you maybe entertain the possibility that you actually were not? You see, this requires our stepping outside of ourselves. This requires empathy. This requires being able to see a situation from another person's perspective. Great leaders are able to do that. And great leaders in their household, great spiritual leaders in their home are able to do that. Now, this doesn't mean having tolerance for things that are not right. I believe in living according to your convictions. I don't believe in this laissez-faire attitude that whatever's right for you is right for you. No, I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about there's so many things that are a matter of interpretation. So just start the conversation off internalizing the idea that maybe I got this wrong. Maybe I'm the victim of the Mandela effect. Maybe I need to offer an apology. Maybe I need to ask better clarifying questions. Maybe I need to seek to understand my spouse and the situation better before I launch an attack, before I say things that are not in our best interest for what we want to accomplish long term. Mandela effect. Just remember this. Maniacal Megan had a magnifying monocle. And maybe that little phrase, the next time you're fighting and your spouse is arguing with you and you're like, I want to be right. And then you're like, wait, Maniacal Megan had a magnifying monocle. And the Monopoly guy did not have a monocle. And Nelson Mandela did not die in the 80s. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm the victim of the Mandela effect. Listen, click the share button. People need to hear this. People need to know about the Mandela effect. People around you need to know that they're not always right. See, this is going to help you. It's going to help you because other people around you are going to understand their own Mandela effect and maybe give you the benefit of the doubt. You got to click share. Listen, spread the word. We're here to show up Monday through Friday in the mornings to serve you and to hopefully bring you some content that is helpful and can bless your life. Listen, I love you guys. Go kill it in your marriage. Do something nice for your spouse today. Leave a Post-it note that shows a heart of gratitude. And let's change the world. All right. Love you guys.